Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Life Science Rundown. This is Nick Capman with the FDA Group. Before we jump into our discussion for today, just a little news about what the FDA Group has coming up. Do you ever get frustrated with having to research, read, and interpret new FDA regulations, guidance documents, and what's happening at FDA, as well as warning letters? Would you like a place that you can go to get all the latest information and analysis from ex-FDA and industry experts? Well, you're in luck. Coming soon, the FDA Group is going to be providing our monthly insider newsletter, place that you can go to get all the latest information and analysis with what's happening at FDA. So if you're interested in subscribing, make sure you're following the FDA Group on LinkedIn, where we will be posting updates as we get closer to launch. So today I wanted to talk about an article that I recently read from Endpoint News. It was from Zachary Brennan, and the title of the article is FDA Resurrects Proposal to Gauge Quality Metrics in Pharma Manufacturing. And I thought this was a really cool article, so I wanted to just kind of go through it with you and share what I learned. So it starts off, the FDA once again is returning to its highly contested quality metrics program for pharma manufacturers, even as companies have expressed major reservations. The agency's focus on quality metrics began in 2015 and continued with a heavily revised draft guidance on how to submit metrics data, including quality-related complaints. Eventually, the guidance spawned 2 FDA pilot projects in 2018. The FDA has maintained its focus on the topic of these voluntary quality metrics, even as biopharma companies have questioned the value and utility of the data and critique the increased burden of collecting and submitting the data. But if the FDA stresses in a new update on its quality metrics program on Tuesday that additional data can help both the FDA and the supply chain, which needs to have a better understanding of which manufacturers are going above and beyond status quo. Current CGMP compliance, quote unquote, does not necessarily indicate whether a manufacturer is investing in improvements and striving for consistent control over its manufacturing performance and quality, which the FDA said. The quote continues, the fact that the FDA, continuing to look at this is promising. And that's a quote from Michael Ganillo, Senior Director at the American Society of Health System Pharmacists. He also said, and we know they recognize the importance of quality in drugs in the supply chain. It makes sense to give some sort of incentive or measurement so purchasers have more information on whether they're rewarding more reliable product manufacturers. Fair point. FDA also says it's considering changes and seeks feedback on some aspects of its quality metrics reporting program. Quote, to provide flexibilities to manufacturers, FDA would focus less on standardization of quality metrics and definitions, end quote, the agency said on Tuesday. They continue. Instead, FDA would identify practice areas that are critical to ensure sustainable product quality and availability and would permit manufacturers to select a metric or metrics from each practice area that are meaningful and enable establishments to identify continual improvement opportunities, end quote. Rather than set metric definitions on how establishments calculate particular metrics, the FDA said it will allow reporting establishments, API and finished dosage manufacturers, to select the most appropriate metrics from each practice area and inform the FDA on how these metrics are calculated. So based on the feedback from pilot participants, the agency said it identified 4 general areas as appropriate for metrics programs. So number 1, manufacturing process performance. Number 2, pharmaceutical quality system effectiveness. Number 3, laboratory performance. And number 4, supply chain robustness. Examples of quality metrics associated with each of these areas include, so number 1, manufacturing process performance. a metric on the proportion of lots manufactured without the occurrence of a nonconformance. Another example for number 2, pharmaceutical quality system effectiveness, would be a measure of the proportion of recurring deviation measures. Number 3, laboratory performance would be a measure that indicates a lab's ability to accurately perform tests. And then lastly, for supply chain robustness, would be a measure of the extent to which shipments are delivered to their destination containing the correct quantity according to the order schedule. As far as questions for industry, FDA wants to know if stakeholders agree that reporting should be aggregated at an establishment level, and whether reporting at an establishment level would help facilitate the submission of quality metrics data by contract manufacturers. The Pharma and Biopharma Outsourcing Association, which represents CDMOs, told Endpoint News that it's looking into the latest announcement, and it appears as though the FDA does want to implement quality metrics reporting in some way, shape, or form. The Pharma and Biopharma Outsourcing Association said it's looking forward to providing a detailed response to the docket. The FDA also wants stakeholders' thoughts on what are the critical components of a, quote, robust quality culture, end quote, and whether any of the examples of quality metrics proposed by the FDA would not be an appropriate measure. So pretty informative. We're all going to have to stay tuned and see how this plays out. Very good article, again, by Zachary Brennan at the Endpoint News. So just wanted to share it with all of you. So as always, if you find conversations like this valuable, please share it with a colleague or your professional network. If you haven't already, subscribe to get updates of new episodes at thefdagroup.com/podcast and follow the FDA Group on LinkedIn. If you'd like to connect about project or resource needs, head over to thefdagroup.com to get in touch, or feel free to connect with me personally on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next time.